Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my review of Streetdog BMX. I play it on the PC via Steam because that's where it is right now. So let's start with the story. There isn't one. It's a BMX game. But let's get into the audio, and the first thing I'm going to say is, well, there's no voiceover work to address, so nothing there. And then there's the sound effects, which really fit with the game because they're kind of cartoony, and that works because it's a cartoony-ass looking game. But I do like them. The grinds sound good, landing tricks, the world around you, all of that sounds good. I like the sound of your bike, so I don't have any complaints there. Let's get into the soundtrack, and I appreciate the music. I think it's as good as they could do, but it just doesn't hit the way it needs to hit for a game like this and the way it's clearly meant to hit for a game like this. So I played the game for several hours with the soundtrack, and it just didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. So I put together a playlist of songs from the Tony Hawk games, Dave Mirra games, and Matt Hoffman games, and suddenly I enjoyed playing this game so much more. It's not to say that the music is necessarily bad, it just doesn't connect the way those kind of songs do with what you're doing in this game. But let's get on to the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is an arcadey action sports game. It's not meant to be a simulation in any way, shape, or form. Although with the art style, a simulation version of this game would be kind of funny. So that being said, you have a bunch of levels that you are trying to, unlock as you go through. And on each level, they have challenges. And you've got your bronze, silver, and gold challenges. And the gold challenges are obviously the hardest challenges. Although I will personally say there were some of the easier challenges that I found very difficult. And maybe that's just a me thing, but I would get some of those and then I'd go to the next level challenges, and some of those felt far easier. Each of the challenges has you doing a variety of tricks, whether it's collecting letters as quickly as you can, or collecting letters while doing a combo and not breaking the combo. It can also be a variety of tricks. There are some of the objectives where you have to pull off 3 separate combos to complete one stage of the objective. That's the other thing. Each of the objectives has 3 levels of difficulty, essentially. So you go to the objective, say it's jump a certain distance, you'll have your bronze, silver, and gold medal distances. And the more medals you get, the more levels you unlock. Eventually you'll unlock the harder difficulties by unlocking more medals. But if that sounds very familiar, it's because it's very familiar. It's very much those late 90s, early 2000s action sports, extreme sports, whatever you want to call them, type of games. And honestly, I loved that. It was definitely a throwback, although I will admit it took me a minute for this game. There is a surprising amount of depth in the controls, mixing it all together, the combos you can put together. There's no special moves or anything like that, but I do think that they put a lot of effort into what's here, and it's pretty awesome. The fact that this is a smaller indie game and it works as well as it does was really impressive to me. So let's get into the controls. And the first thing I'm going to say is I didn't necessarily love the standard controls. They took a lot of getting used to, and I learned something pretty late that changed the game. But the standard controls is you use the right stick to jump as well as to do your tricks, and you have to do the jump, so press down on the stick and let it flick back up, or you can guide it back up if you want to, and then you move it in whatever direction you need to do the trick, and I don't think that flows great. I think overall their use of the sticks is kind of problematic in trick sense, which is a weird way of saying that, but when you need to manual or spin, you have to use the left stick, so you gotta hold it to the left to do the 180, and then you gotta quickly switch to doing up and down to manual, and you get used to that, and that started to work fine. But when you're also using the right stick to be doing your tricks and to jump and all of that, it starts to get a little bit messy. And like I said, I did get used to it, but then I learned that in the settings, not the controller settings, but the settings themselves under gameplay, you can make it even more arcadey by using the A button or B button, in my case, to jump. I was using an Xbox controller. They recommend using a controller, so I used a controller. But when I did that, it really changed up the game, and it made doing these different combinations much easier using the A button than when I was using the right stick. I still struggled a bit with the left stick at times, but it changed the game for doing a lot of the other tricks. And that is something I was going to complain about originally, was what a waste not using some of the face buttons to kind of mix this up a bit. And I understand that they're probably going for a bit more of their own control scheme, but those control schemes worked for a good reason, the old ones. And then we move on to the graphics and visuals, and I've alluded to, or really kind of just straight up said, it's a very cartoony looking game, which I think is good. It brings a different vibe because, so many hyper-realistic games, skateboarding games, are not necessarily hyper-realistic, but they're not this cartoony. So it does help set them apart a little bit with that. There's a decent character creator. There could be more depth to it. You can find cosmetic items throughout the game. I liked the levels and how each of them felt very different from one another, although I will say there were a couple where they weren't mapped out necessarily as well with some of the objectives. I had one where I had to jump from one ramp to another. The problem is where that mission started me, or objective started me every time, was on a lower platform than the one I needed to be on to hit the ramp. Which was weird because there was a long run up to that ramp that they could have started me on for that objective. And I had to get up there every time I failed the objective and restarted. Which the vast majority of the time, not really an issue. I think that's fine, which actually leads me to one other thing that I should have covered earlier. One cool thing that they do is some of the combos that they have you do, you don't have to do it in that one place. You can find an ideal location to do that combo. Like I had one where I needed to 180 into a manual into a backflip, and where they started me wasn't ideal for that, so I found a different area that worked much better. Which that kind of ties into level design. The fact that they give you the freedom to explore like that with some of the missions, not all the missions. I keep saying missions because I don't know. But it is cool that they have thought some of that stuff out really well, and they give you a wide variety of areas to do different tricks and build on combos and so on and so forth. And it's interesting because you start on one of the smallest maps and it grows progressively. The maps get larger and larger. I like that they kept it bright, colorful, and just vibrant. I think it works with what they're going for, which is this kind of throwback style game. It's very clear that they built this world very intentionally. They had a goal in mind with each of the different levels so that you can do what you need to do and explore and just kind of have some fun. Now let's get into the wrap up. And it took me a minute to get used to it, changing up some of the settings, and I learned that I really enjoyed this game. Admittedly, adding my own soundtrack helped. It just helped me get into the mindset and click and connect with the game better. And then changing up the controls made it even more enjoyable. I actually ended up really liking this game. I hope to see more from them. This was a lot of fun. I hope at some point they get to make a sequel or DLC or something. As you can guess by that, I'm recommending it. I don't have any problems with that. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, did you play the Dave Mirra games or did you play the Matt Hoffman games? Did you play either of them? As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.